Good evening, dear listeners. Before we delve into the heart of our tale, let's set the stage where our story unfolds. It's New Year's Eve, a time of celebration, joy, and anticipation. A time when the old gives way to the new, and the air is filled with the promise of beginnings. The city is awash with lights, the buildings adorned with vivid decorations, and the streets humming with the excited chatter of people. The night sky is dotted with fireworks, their colorful explosions mirrored in the wide-eyed wonder of children. Among these children is our protagonist, a young boy filled with an insatiable curiosity and a spirit of adventure. As the countdown to the new year begins, he finds himself unable to contain his excitement. The prospect of a fresh start, new resolutions, and the promise of gifts has him on the edge of his seat. He counts down each second with bated breath, his heart pounding with anticipation. Little does he know that this New Year's Eve will not bring the joy and merriment he expects. Instead, it will introduce him to a chilling entity that will turn his world upside down. As the clock strikes midnight, the atmosphere changes, the festive cheer gives way to a palpable dread, and our young hero's adventure begins. Join us as we unravel this chilling tale of courage, wit, and a New Year's Eve that will be etched in our protagonist's memory forever. Stay tuned, for this is just the beginning. Have you ever wondered what happens when a child wakes up on New Year's Eve to find a demon instead of presents? Let me take you on a journey that will leave you pondering your grasp on fear and courage, the very essence of our human nature. As the globe finds itself engulfed in the joy and exhilaration of welcoming another year, our tale veers away, introducing an unexpected twist. We follow the footsteps of a young, inquisitive child who embarks on an adventure that is anything but ordinary. It is night of sheer anticipation, of heart-throbbing excitement, where the atmosphere pulsates with the intoxicating aroma of upcoming celebrations. There are twinkling lights everywhere, dancing like tiny stars fallen from the heavens, and their sparkle is mirrored in the eyes of those who wait in anticipation. The promise of beautifully wrapped gifts rests comfortably beneath the elegantly decorated tree, the green of its branches contrasting with the vibrant colors of the baubles and tinsel. In the heart of this festive atmosphere, our main character, a young and curious child, bubbles with unbridled eagerness. He is waiting for the moment when the hands of the clock align at the top, announcing the arrival of the new year. As the time inches closer to this pivotal moment, the child, embodying the audacity of his age, stealthily makes his way out of his snug bedroom. His expectations are soaring high, his senses sharp and heightened with the adrenaline of thrill, the innate human desire for discovery propelling him forward. He is eager to find out what wonders the new year has bestowed upon him, but the scene that awaits him is in stark contrast to the joy and merriment that he had anticipated. Instead of a stack of presents wrapped in colorful, festive paper, he is met with a sight that could paralyze the bravest of hearts. Standing before him is a demon, its eyes glowing with a foreboding light, towering menacingly over the presents. The atmosphere, which until a few moments ago was rich with the warm spirit of the new year, transforms into a chilling, eerie void. It echoes ominously with a silence so profound it could curdle blood. Now place yourself in the shoes of that young child, ensnared in such a terrifying reality that would make even the most courageous retreat. But this child is unlike any other. He is brave and bold, yes, but more than that, he is cunning. He does not tremble before the demon that embodies the darkest corners of nightmares. Instead, he makes a decision that would alter the course of his night and potentially his life. He challenges the demon to a game of intellect, of wit, a mental duel that could potentially decide the fate of his New Year's Eve. The stakes are astronomical. If the child emerges victorious, he secures his presence and exiles the demon forever. But if the demon wins, well, let's not dwell on that. Confronted with the audacious challenge, the demon sneers with a terrifying grin, but the child remains resolute, his spirit refusing to waver. As he girds himself for the most monumental challenge of his life, the room plunges once more into an eerie silence, the tension so thick it could be cut with a knife. This marks the commencement of a tale unlike any New Year's Eve has ever seen, a tale of courage, wisdom, and a game that held not just gifts, but also the delicate balance between a child and a demon in its hands. As the child prepared for the challenge, the demon smirked and the room fell into a deadly silence. The child and the demon locked eyes, the tension palpable. As the last day of the year began to wind down, tranquil serenity of the night was disrupted by an unanticipated event. On this silent eve, beneath a starlit canopy, a confrontation was about to take shape, one that was far from typical. The young boy, whose innocence and pure heart were still intact, rooted himself in place. His eyes, unwavering, were fixed upon a nightmarish creature that had emerged from the unseen depths of darkness. He found himself face to face with a demon, its eyes reflecting a bone-chilling blend of apathy and sadistic amusement. The harsh winter breeze seemed to hold its icy breath as the world fell into a deep silence, broken only by the eerie hoot of an owl echoing in the distance. Their imminent battle wasn't a conventional one. It wasn't about physical strength or mystical abilities. Rather, it was a psychological combat, a contest of intelligence and ingenuity. It was to be a strategic game of riddles where the risks were higher than anyone could imagine. The child's untouched purity and the demon's malicious cunning were at stake here. The winner would take possession of both. This game of wits was suggested by the child, a bold move that showcased his bravery and sharp intellect. The demon, initially surprised by the audacity of this proposition, accepted the challenge. Its self-assured conviction in its own deceptive intelligence remained unshaken. The game was set in motion, not with a thunderous clash of weapons, but with an intricate ballet of wordplay and enigmas. The child took the lead, proposing a riddle that was cleverly designed and incisive. For the first time, the demon found itself grappling for an answer. The realization that it was struggling seemed to shake its confidence while simultaneously boosting the child's. However, the demon was not to be outsmarted easily. It retaliated with a riddle of its own, a question as complex and labyrinthine as the hell it resided in. The child, predictably, was perplexed. He struggled to find an answer, his face strained with effort. The demon watched this display with a visible sense of gratification, a malicious grin adorning its face. Their exchange of riddles pressed on, the intricacy of the questions with each round. The tension grew steadily, becoming so dense it could have been sliced like warm butter. The boy's mind was racing, his pulse quickening with every second. The demon, too, found itself tangled in the excitement of the game, a contest it had greatly underestimated. The climax of this unconventional duel arrived with the final riddle, a deep, metaphysical question that sought to explore the uncharted territories of existence. The child posed this question, his eyes mirroring the seriousness of his inquiry. The demon for the first time seemed genuinely at a loss. It thought and pondered, but the elusive answer remained just out of its reach. The demon's usual smirk slowly faded away, replaced by an expression of utter confusion. The child watched this transformation eagerly, his heart pounding with hopeful anticipation. Did he have the upper hand? Had his quick thinking truly outwitted the cunning of a demon? Suddenly the demon's smirk faded. The child had won and finally got his gift. On another New Year's Eve, an unexpected visitor arrived at my friend Ben's residence. With the climax of the festivities, the ring of the doorbell pierced through the laughter and music. Standing on the doorstep was a young woman who couldn't be much older than a teenager. Her eyes, a striking shade of blue, appeared even more pronounced against her fair skin, while an explosion of curls tumbled down her shoulders. She introduced herself as a past romantic interest of Ben's, a name that, puzzlingly, Ben didn't seem to recall. This didn't stop us from welcoming her into our midst, offering a warm shelter from the biting winter chill outside. The woman was amiable, her laughter infectious, her stories captivating. Nonetheless, beneath her jovial facade, there was a faint trace of unease, a subtle inconsistency in her gaze. The start of an odd shift in the evening's atmosphere was signaled by a sudden and inexplicable power outage. The house was plunged into darkness, lit only by ghostly glow of the moonlight filtering through the window panes. The previously jovial laughter faded into nervous giggles before ultimately giving way to an eerie silence. In the unsettling quiet, the woman began to spin a tale about Ben, a story that Ben vehemently claimed to have no memory of. It was a tale of romance and heartbreak, of promises unkept and emotions devastated. The most bone-chilling part was her mention of a key, a symbol she claimed represented their love, a key she alleged to have taken from Ben's place. As she narrated this story, the wind outside began to howl fiercely, the bare branches of the trees clawing at the window glass like skeletal fingers. The air was heavy with tension, the strain palpable. Shortly after, there was a knock at the door, an occurrence that no one had anticipated. The woman's smile faltered, her gaze flicking nervously from one corner of the room to the other. Fear crept into her eyes. a stark divergence from the confidence she exhibited earlier. The once vibrant atmosphere of the party had turned into something akin to a suspense-filled thriller novel. Everyone's eyes moved towards the door as we waited in bated breath. The woman's stories had added an element of suspense to the party, and we weren't sure what to expect next. The woman's eyes were wide with fear, and she seemed to have lost her earlier bravado. The door hinges creaked under the pressure as we slowly pushed open the door to reveal. As the door creaked open, we were met with a chilling sight. The person at the door was not who we expected. These words hung heavily in the air as the reality of the situation unfurled before us. It was a twist we hadn't anticipated, a plot twist in our otherwise routine existence. We had hoped for a friendly neighbor or an innocent passerby, someone familiar, someone known. Instead, what met our eyes were two obscure figures, their identities shrouded in mystery, concealed by the faint ethereal glow of the New Year's Eve light. Their presence was unannounced, a surprise intrusion into what was supposed to be a tranquil celebration of the year's end. They were uninvited, they were unexplained. An eerie presence that sent a shiver of dread coursing through our veins, chilling us to the bone. As they crossed the threshold, the air around us seemed to becoming denser, colder, as if conscious of the malevolent energy they exuded. A palpable atmospheric shift that altered the dynamic of the room, making it feel alien and hostile. Their gaze, sharp and penetrating, scanned the room, taking in its occupants, their expressions unreadable. The eerie silence that enveloped us was deafening, their lack of words amplifying the tension that filled the room. It was a standoff, a high-octane drama unfolding in front of our eyes. The anticipation was palpable, the suspense unbearable. And then, the girl, the one who had claimed a connection with Ben, brought forth a revelation that rocked us to our core. With a slow, deliberate movement, she raised her hand to reveal a key, Ben's key. The sight of it, clutched in her hand, was a stark contradiction to the angelic facade she had so skillfully projected. It was a tangible symbol of her treachery, undeniable evidence of the deceit she was enmeshed in. The casual visit, we realized, was more than a facade, a clever ruse designed to mask her true intentions. It was a premeditated intrusion, a meticulously planned act, executed with an almost terrifying precision. The girl, we realized, was not an ex-lover as she had claimed, but a scheming stranger, a key player in their complex game. With the pilfered key, she had gained access to Ben's house, infiltrating his personal space, his life, and perhaps his secret sanctuary. The truth descended upon us like a bitter, cold wave, the realization chilling us to our very soul. Our safe haven now felt like a horrifying trap, a nightmarish scenario we couldn't escape from. We were ensnared in layers of calculated deception, caught in the elaborate web spun by the key-wielding imposter, the puppet master orchestrating this intricate scheme. As we grappled with this unsettling revelation, a new element of terror emerged. From the depths of the house, a sound, a creak, a whisper, a vague hint of some unseen entity lurking in the shadows, an alien noise, an out-of-place sound that didn't belong in Ben's house. It was the last thing a horrifying reminder of our precarious situation. Just as we thought things couldn't get worse, we heard a sound that froze our blood. While all this was happening, a New Year's Eve house party took a supernatural turn. The excitement of the imminent New Year was in the air, and so was the anticipation for the grand midnight celebration. The festive gathering was more than just a simple meet and greet among friends. It was a celebration where bonds strengthened and love was shared. It was a joyous celebration, characterized by enthusiastic cheers, heartwarming toasts, and the rhythmic clinking of champagne glasses. The atmosphere was abuzz with positive energy and the promise of a fresh start that the new year had to offer. The house was adorned with an array of vibrant decorations, each piece carefully selected to add to the festive vibe. The colors of the decorations were enhanced by soft, warm glow of the twinkling fairy lights, were meticulously strung across the ceiling and around doorways. As midnight approached, the house seemed to pulsate with the collective excitement and anticipation of its occupants. The air was alive with a vibrant energy, an energy that was both exhilarating and infectious. However, amidst this symphony of joy and celebration, a discordant note struck. A sound, out of place and unsettling, began to punctuate the joviality. It was a strange, creaking sound that seemed completely at odds with the otherwise festive mood. It was a sound that didn't align with the bubbly laughter and cheerful exclamations that filled the room. It was not just a sound, It was an enigma that seemed to originate from the deepest recesses of the house, more specifically, from the old, seldom visited basement. The basement, a place long forgotten, was a treasure trove of history and memory. It was a place where the past was preserved in the form of old, yellowed letters, faded photographs, and other memorabilia. Among these pieces of history stood an ancient rocking chair, a relic of the past that held a connection to the homeowner's deceased grandmother. This grandmother was known throughout the town for her spine-chilling tales of the supernatural. The unsettling creaking sound originating from the basement refused to subside. Despite initial dismissals and attempts to brush it off as just the house settling or the wind howling outside, it was becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. The sound seemed to infiltrate the lively atmosphere, creating an undercurrent of unease that was impossible to shake off. My friend John and I felt a magnetic pull towards the basement, a desire to uncover the source of the creaking sound. We felt a mixture of fear and excitement as we cautiously descended the old wooden stairs towards the basement. The basement was dimly lit, amplifying the sense of mystery and foreboding. The shadows cast by the faint light played tricks on our eyes, making the ancient relics seem alive. As we moved closer towards the source of the sound, we found the rocking chair, bathed in the faint, flickering glow of a single light bulb hung from the ceiling. This chair, steeped in history and folklore, was believed to have a mind of its own. But what we were about to witness was far beyond any story or legend we had heard. As we were a few steps away, an icy chill ran down our spines. The air grew noticeably colder, and time seemed to stand still. The old rocking chair, which had been stationary till now, began to creak and rock, seemingly of its own accord. Just as we approached the old rocking chair, it began to move on its own. The rocking chair moved as though an unseen force was sitting on it. We stood, transfixed, rooted to the spot as we watched the chair rock steadily back and forth. The rhythmic creaking echoed ominously, filling the silent basement with an eerie aura. The sight was mesmerizing yet terrifying. The chair seemed to have developed a spirit of its own. It swayed with a certain rhythm, devoid of any human touch, yet strangely familiar. It evoked images of a loving grandparent gently rocking a child to sleep. The merriment upstairs seemed a distant reality. The party was in full swing, the chatter and laughter oblivious to the mysterious happenings below. To them, the unusual rock of the chair was nothing more than the house settling in. But John and I knew better. We had always felt a certain unease about the basement, but that night, it was beyond palpable. The air seemed denser, shadows darker, and the silence louder. The usual clutter of forgotten knickknacks seemed to vanish into the darkness, leaving only the rocking chair under the spotlight. This chair was more than just furniture, it was a piece of history. A relic from John's grandmother's time, it bore witness to countless stories and memories. She used to sit on that chair knitting away, narrating tales from a bygone era. Her laughter and warmth were like a comforting blanket that filled the room. Now she was no more. But the chair remained, a part of her still alive, still etched in the woodwork long after had passed away. But that night there was something uncanny about the chair. It was more than just an object, it felt like her spirit had not as a tender memory, but as a tangible entity. We stood there, frozen, as the chair rocked on its own, the creaking sound growing increasingly louder and more insistent, as if it was trying to tell us something. The atmosphere in the basement changed. The room felt colder, more intimidating. The shadows seemed to lengthen, stretching towards us. Fear wrapped itself around us in a frigid grasp. We felt like we were witnessing something inexplicable, an incident that blurred the boundaries of reality and the paranormal. Our logical mind searched for a practical reason, but none seemed convincing. It felt like we were in the presence of something otherworldly, something that defied the rules of life and death. As we stood there, holding our breath, hearts pounding, the chair abruptly stopped moving. The room fell silent. It was over. Yet the incident had left us with more questions than answers. Who or had been rocking it? The night had left us shaken, our beliefs shattered, our understanding of the world tested. The experience was a paranormal encounter that we would never forget, a chilling reminder of the thin line separating the living and the supernatural. And it became a story we would carry with us for the rest of our lives, a tale about the night the barrier between life and death blurred in the basement of a house teeming with memories. The rocking chair moved as though an unseen force was sitting on it. Make sure to subscribe and stay tuned.